my friends, and welcome back to another monthly wrap-up. It is January 2023, and I watched a lot this month. If you've seen some of my videos, you'll know I watched a lot in a row. So let's get into it. First off, I do want to thank today's sponsor, which is Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. Not only does Surfshark encrypt all of your data and protect your identity while you're online, it can unblock geoblock content, which I find really handy. Honestly, I use Surfshark most days to just see what's around, what I can't get access to yet, and it does a great job at that. It's also one of the easiest VPNs I've ever used. Basically, you just type in where you want to be, click connect, and you're there. You can also use your one account on unlimited devices. So your phone, your laptop, your smart TV, all of that can be connected to the same Surfshark account. So it's really simple and really affordable. Surfshark have a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So if you're not happy with the product within 30 days, you can get your money back, no questions asked. So I really recommend giving it a go. And if you do, use my code SPOOKY, because not only will you get 83% off, you'll get 3 months extra for free. That's the code SPOOKY. And there's also a link in the description down below. Thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring creators like me and allowing me to access so much cool content online. Now let's dive into it. I'm using Letterboxd as always. Let's talk about everything I watched this month. The first film I watched this month is pretty controversial, and there's been updates since I watched this. If you know about Andrew Callahan, situations have changed. Things have become very strange in that space, but let's just talk on this movie. And I just want to talk about it lightly because I try not to bring politics too much into this channel unless they have to do with movies, which I guess this kind of does. This is a documentary by Andrew Callahan, who is a famous YouTuber who is known for his radical listening style of interviewing. And this is the story leading up to what happened in America January 6th and how he kind of knew some of the people going into it because of his style of interviewing, where he listens to all different types of people from every walk of life and does not make judgment and just kind of lets them voice their opinions. So this is a really raw kind of interview style documentary that links all of that together. It was picked up by A24 actually, but it's a super raw, not overproduced snapshot of it, and what I like about it is it kind of just shows it for what it is and doesn't have any real narrative towards it. I found it to be really interesting. I do wish that there was more, but I'm glad they kept it open and less emotive, which is a very different style to what we kind of see on Netflix. It's definitely not for everybody, but it is an interesting piece of media, and if you had followed him or know about him and hadn't heard of it, I recommend it. I watched White Noise. This is a really interesting one. This one has Adam Driver, Greta Gerwig. It's about a family going through this possible toxic event. I thought it was going to be more based on that, but it's really about their personalities, and Adam Driver's character is like this pompous professor, and it explores his fear of mortality and then his wife's, and it's about their relationship. It's a very dry, long, strange movie, and it's on Netflix. I don't know if I'd recommend it to you all. I thought it was going to be more horror skewed, which it says it is a horror movie, and I mean it is like mortality, fear of mortality. Everyone has that though, and it does focus on that, and it gets really, really dark. And there are some thriller moments, but it was a lot drier than I expected. I probably wouldn't recommend it to a lot of people. I watched The Lair, which is... I did my What's Coming to VOD at the start of January, and so many of you told me that you had already seen The Lair last year. I think they did some advanced screenings, and you were really disappointed by it. I was really excited about it because it was by the same director as The Descent, but yes, it fell down really fast. I actually did a review, or more like a rant about it, on my Patreon. If you do want to join my Patreon, I do bonus videos every single week. They're a little bit more raw, and yeah, it's only like $2 a month if you do want to support what I do here. But yes, it was so sad, such a letdown. I see my friend Ben liked it though. Good on you, Ben. But no, it wasn't for me. And I was really sad about it. So thank you for all of your warnings, because I think you kind of lowered my expectations going in anyway. I watched Population 436, and I believe I was laying in bed, and I have a projector now in my bedroom, and I was just putting something on like while I was in the aircon one day. Oh, I know what I did. I gave blood this month. Well, I gave plasma, and I was feeling like a little bit oozy afterwards. And so I just like chucked on something easy to watch. Looked like a pretty low brow horror, and it kind of was. I mean, it was. The film is about these like this town, and this guy has to go in to do like a populace check. What do they call it? A populace? A census taker. And he has to, check out this small town, and then he realizes that people don't really leave this town and something funky's going on. It's kind of like Children of the Cornish in a way, but the whole town's like very culty. It was alright. The acting was pretty atrocious. The lead character falls down quite fast on his face. He's not a good guy. It's actually Jeremy Sisto. Fred Durst? I didn't even realize Fred Durst was in this, and I watched this whole ass movie. What? But yes, probably wouldn't recommend it. I didn't even realize I was watching Fred Durst. That's wild. That you could tell I was really feeling it after giving plasma. And then I rewatched The Glass House, which is a film, one of those easy thrillers that I've watched time and time again. I really love 90s thrillers. I know this is 2001, but it's got that same kind of feel. And this is about two kids who are taken in after an horrendous accident, and the people who took them in to look after them, their new guardians, something is going wrong and they have to get to the bottom of it. It's more about like the kids not being believed and trying to find an exit strategy in this kind of situation. So it's kind of spooky. I'd probably recommend it if you're into kind of like thrillers. Easygoing thrillers. I watched Bloody Reunion. This I watched with my patrons. Someone recommended it. What a wild ride. This is a Korean drama horror that's really hard to understand, and it has nothing to do with the language barriers, although I didn't really watch it with the best subtitles. It's one of those films that tries to trick you so much that it doesn't actually make sense what it's doing, but it's about a bunch of kids who go back to, I guess they're adults now, who go back to visit an old school teacher they had, and there they kind of address things that happened to them in their youth. I thought it was gonna be more bloody, because when I first got the film, I was like looking through it, and I just saw all these bloody clips, but and it is intense. But it's intense just in small sections, and the rest are drama. And yeah, we had a lot of fun watching it as a group, but I probably wouldn't recommend watching it solo. I watched The Deep End of the Ocean. I'm trying to remember this one. Oh yes, I do. I feel like I was on a 90s thriller kick. This one has Michelle Pfeiffer, and it's about her. She loses her son, like literally lost, turns around, he's gone, and then she finds a kid who looks like him like years later, and it's kind of like a thriller drama about that. I don't like the name of it. It doesn't really make sense with the rest of the movie, but it's an interesting movie, but yeah, nothing great. I would say, again, one of those like easygoing thrillers that will kind of have like one twist in it, but it's kind of satisfying at the same time. Easy watch. I watched The Pale Blue Eye. I hate this name. I always want to say, because it's Kristen Bale, I always want to say the Pale Bale, which is my dyslexia coming through. This film is really interesting. I have a lot of feelings about how it ends. And I don't think it's a bad movie per se, but like the last 20 minutes, I feel like completely changed my whole idea of it. I know it's meant to, but not in a positive way. So the film is a mystery murder horror, and it's on Netflix, by the way. It's about this detective who goes into this like cadet school to figure out why this guy died. And when he's there, he meets this student called Ellen Edgar Poe, who obviously goes on to become very famous, and tries to work with him to figure out what's happening. And as that's happening, more grisly events take place. I think it's long, which I don't think that was a bad thing in this case. And you really have to pay attention to the last section. I think it all comes together, and it's kind of unexpected in that regard. But I think that it was just beautiful. The way it looked, it's just set in the cold of winter. It's dark, and it's really contrasty. And I just love all those kind of like snowscape shots. But I think for the reveal, it just didn't... I wanted to love it, but there was just something that really grinded my gears with that. But I think I went from rating it from a 7 to a 6 because of that, and I did a Patreon review for that as well. I did Skinamarink, If you watch me on Instagram lives, you'll know why I just laughed then. But this is a film that was a long time coming. I had the screener for this from last December when I contacted the director, and I did a whole review on this. A lot of people are split on this movie. I had so many horrendous comments, obviously by people who don't really watch me and don't really know what I'm talking about, and aren't really aware of like my approach. Knowing that most people don't like everything, can I try and explain a film without spoilers so that people will know whether they will personally like it? People got really mad at me for like enjoying the film. It's split audiences, but yeah, watch my review on it if you want to know more. It hasn't got any spoilers in it, but it talks more about the origins of the film, the director, and kind of where the story came from. But I found this, I liked this film, and I understand why people didn't like it. Basically, it's an experimental horror where we're seeing really abstract shots of the house and these two kids who wake up in the middle of the night and their parents are gone. If you want to know whether it will work for you to get into this hypnotic state, and you're not really sure with the runtime, there is a short by the same director called Heck, and that's available on YouTube for free. And yeah, I really recommend checking that out. And if you find that scary, you'll probably like the feature. I know it's coming to Shudder soon, so if you haven't had a chance to see it, you'll be able to see it then. Then, yeah, I watched Heck. There you can see. I don't know, I think I might have liked Heck a little bit better. I watched Megan or Megan, no H. We usually say it Megan if it has a H in it. But there's different ways of pronouncing different things. But her name was Megan in the movie, the way they pronounced it, so we'll go with that. Loved it. I love how fun and silly this movie is, and I can't wait until they do a like a director's cut. The PG thing doesn't really bother me. I don't really care too much about that. I like inferred gore most of the time. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did a full review on that if you want to check it out with my full reaction coming out of the cinema. But yes, very much enjoyed it. I'm in the camp. James Wan, like, I know obviously he wrote this one, but he's just, I love where he's going at the moment. It's very fun. I watched Spiderhead. A lot of you guys recommended this to me last year, so I finally checked this one out. I didn't love it. I felt like it kind of got a little bit messy in the middle. It's a Netflix movie about two people. Well, I guess it's about a bunch of people who are in this facility where they're taking, testing drugs out, but they were prisoners, and to like reduce their sentence, they can go into this facility and help there. And basically they're taking certain drugs that make them feel certain ways, and it's like all experimental with that. I liked that aspect of it, and I think everyone who was in it was fantastic. But yeah, it just got a little bit kind of dipped in the middle, and not much really happened once the idea came out. I think it's based on a short story, and you really could feel that it was meant to be a short story, but it's not bad. I watched The Hatchet-Wielding Hitchhiker, and I saw a lot of people had a lot of opinions about this. This is a documentary that is on Netflix about this guy. You would have, if you were around when this interview went viral about this guy talking about hacking someone, it was really interesting to see what happened afterwards. But I saw a lot of commentary about this. Basically, they follow the story about how everyone wanted to get something from this homeless man who was interviewed, and the interview went viral, and how everyone wanted to play off that and try and use that to leverage their brands or their image or their network. And I really enjoyed the documentary for what it was, because it left a lot open and it didn't really show you one strict narrative. And this is what I was talking about before with Netflix. It's really easy for them to overproduce and sell a story, especially to a vast market. And I really enjoyed that you kind of saw everyone for what they were, and they said that they wanted just to get it. And then people watched it and they thought, this is so crazy because now Netflix is just doing that. I'm like, but that's the whole point of it. Like, that was the whole idea, is to expose that. And I thought that they did really well at that. Obviously, it's like a really sad story about mental health and a lot of things, but it does keep it very open. And I thought that it was really interesting to see people just fully on camera exposing themselves. If you blink, you might miss that. You might have taken that as like, oh my God, I can't believe they paid people to talk about. That's not like, they're showing you who they really are and telling you. Isn't that like Oprah quote? Like, when someone tells you who they are, believe it. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I guess I wouldn't say enjoyed, but I was kind of shocked by it. And yeah, it really affected me. And I thought it was really, really interesting and well done. Especially the guy claimed he found him. Well, the guy who first interviewed him. It's just so crazy to me how obvious it was how shitty he was. like years later, he's sitting there saying that this guy was like one of his, he meant so much to him. He met him like twice, and he was talking about how they were really connected, and it was baffling to see, and the way he came off, in my opinion, was like so poor. And so I kind of liked that the film showed all of that, zoomed out, and showed everybody trying so hard to get something out of him, to really expose them for what they did in the situation as well. Because it could have so easily just focused on him and his mental health and his childhood, but it focused on all of the people around him trying to get something from him. And then people got mad about that. But I'm like, but isn't it good that it's showing you that fact? Because it could have totally changed the narrative, where we watch a lot of these true crime docos and they never talk about the people who are on the outside of, you know, obtaining the information. They only ever focus on the person, like the perpetrator or the victim or survivor. So anyway, I found that really interesting, and it had me glued. After that, I watched Sick, which is a new Blumhouse horror movie a lot of people have been talking about. I thought that this film was really interesting. If you've seen it, you know, just the message it was trying to convey was a little bit muddy. It is set in like COVID times when things first started happening, and two friends go off into like a cabin retreat house, and there they're going to isolate and study together, but at the same time some killings have happened around their like group of friends, and of course they're in this isolated location, and who pops up but a stranger in the middle of the night. I love the slashing elements of it. I thought that the kills were really cool, the gore was really good, even the lead actresses, they were so good, and I really enjoyed them. I just didn't like the storyline and the whole reasoning and everything behind it. It was very strange. Yeah, it kind of took me out of it because everything else was fine. I just wish it didn't. I know that they were trying to like cash in on like Sick and talk about it all, but I really wish that they didn't have it anything to do with the pandemic, because other than that, like everything else was pretty solid. So I wish that the whole storyline was different, I guess. I watched Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. This is 1974. I watched with my patrons for a watch along, which is really cool because I don't think I've said anything on my channel, but I'm going to Japan soon, so I'm really excited. And yeah, it got me into the Godzilla spirit. Unfortunately, guys, I have to tell you this. I don't know what's going to happen, but I've booked to go to Japan 2 days before Scream comes out. So I've got to figure something out. Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, but I was really excited. I've watched a lot of the Godzilla. I have like a video going through all of Godzilla's history in like 10 minutes, and it's wild. I rewatched it. I'm like, I don't remember any of this information. It's so much. And yeah, so I really love Godzilla, and I went through and I've done the whole kind of like deep dive in the past. Just have such a love for, I guess, the metaphorical reasonings to Godzilla and the different ways Godzilla is represented for the people of Japan. So yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun as a watch with a group of people, because this one has like these alien type characters in it, so there's a lot going on. Also has some beautiful music. I watched Necromantic. I kind of regret it. I watched this because I was doing a disturbing, like really gruesome, disturbing list. And actually my friend who, I can't even put this up on there, my friend who recommended Godzilla actually recommended this as well. Daniel, if you're watching, shout out. You traumatized me. I don't even know how to explain this film. It's like this exploitation German horror movie from the 80s. It doesn't feel like the 80s, it feels like earlier. And it's basically about a man who's like a crime scene cleaner, garbage man. He brings home a corpse for him and his wife. I didn't watch the second one. It's just a film that I've always heard about as well, and I never actually had seen before. So I did that, and that was an event in my life. I watched Fatal Attraction. Vicky and I do a stream so Vicky from Nightmare Maven, we do a stream every single month, either on my channel or on her channel, and we did it on my channel. We talked about Fatal Attraction. If you know about me, you know I love stalker films, so I was in my element. What a fun rewatch. I've seen this film countless times, and it never gets any easier. It's so intense. And we watched that with, you can see a couple films ahead, Audition, which is a Japanese horror. We'll get to it in a sec. But yeah, so those were the pairings. I watched There's Something Wrong with the Children. There's something wrong with the poster is so different to like how the movie actually ended up, and I did a full review for you guys on this one. I did not enjoy it. I loved the idea behind. So basically you're following a couple who go with another couple who have kids on this little holiday vacation, you know, out to like a little cabin. It's not like a cabin in the woods, it's like chalets, like, you know, just a little area where people would go vacationing. And when they're there, they go exploring and they find this hole in this ruins. Kids become hypnotized by the hole, and then the kids just start acting up, and it's only the parents, like, well, not the parents, it's only the couple who don't have kids who kind of catch on, and it's like, is it in their heads or is it not? And it's meant to be this whole metaphor about childless couples and fear of having children and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that part was so interesting, but it really like flounders, and it doesn't work for me. I was really sad about it. Everything else just kind of falls apart really fast, and the creepy kid cliches come in, and yeah, I was not a fan. I watched Society. I just rewatched this because I was doing that gruesome kind of video, and I thought, you know what, I haven't seen this movie in so long. I've definitely seen it maybe like 3 or 4 times before. So just gave another watch in the background. It's so interesting how much gore is kind of riddled throughout that film. The movie is about this kind of middle upper class family, suburbia, and from the start they're just acting wild and weird. And it's their teenage son who starts to figure out something is different about his family and his neighborhood, and maybe they're part of something that he never realized. And it's sexual and body gore, and it's a lot. Yeah, and then I watched Audition, which is very famous Japanese horror movie that's based on a short story. I think it's a short story. It's like a book, but Vicky read it, and she said it wasn't very long. And it's just a really interesting movie to go back and analyze, because I think I've only seen it a couple times, and every time I watched it, I just watched it for pure entertainment. So when I'm watching things back for Does This Offend You, I'm looking at it in a different, like through a different lens, from a different perspective. Because basically, Does This Offend You, the stream we talk about all the taboo parts in films that you normally kind of just brush over, just to dissect something different and come from it from a different angle, which isn't being critical of its like cinematography or, you know, the directing style. So it's really interesting to talk about the controversies, the subtle, like what things could actually mean. This film was really interesting for that. I had a completely different experience rewatching it. It's about a widower who decides to hold, with his help of his friend, to hold auditions for a new wife, but they don't know that they're auditioning for a new wife. They think they're auditioning for a film. And then he bites off more than he can chew with one of the ladies. From here, we did it, guys. I did it. I watched all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And if you haven't watched my video, my birthday was this week, by the way, on Thursday. If you want to give me a birthday present, go watch that video. It was 45 minutes long. I went through every single film, and my main point is to dissect Freddy's origin and figure out where Freddy came from and why he is the way he is. And I got all the answers. All the answers are in that video. I really want to do some more ranking videos this year. If you do have a ranking series that you want me to talk about, please let me know down below, because the more people that kind of say the same thing, I will look into that series. So if you do see like someone commenting the same thing, maybe like theirs as well. But yeah, I'm not going to go through and name them all. I saw them all. And in that, I also watched the Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, which I do mention in the video. It's a documentary that's based on the second Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street. And I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought I would hate most of these films, and when I've done like watch backs and, you know, I've done like Wrong Turn. I don't think I did a video on it, but I did watch all of the Wrong Turns before I watched the new one. I've done a deep dive on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and especially when you get to the end of those things, you're like, oh my god, I cannot take another one. But these weren't bad, and everything, at least I know like the remake wasn't going to be great because I'd seen it before. I was still kind of interested in what it was going with. It was, at least it was like a breath of fresh air, and every single Freddy movie has a distinct element to it. It does get a little bit muddy around the Dream Warriors, Dream Trials, you know, all that stuff, but Dream Master, but it's still, I don't know, it still feels different, and I guess they don't all melt together like a lot of other series, and I felt like Freddy and Jason really surprised me, because I didn't think I'd like that film. I had avoided it for years. I don't really like that kind of stuff, and I thought it was was fine. It was a time capsule for like the 2000s horror, and I could appreciate it for it. So yeah, I really surprised myself with that, and it was a good challenge. So thank you to anyone who watched it. And then last night I went and saw Tar. This I have wanted to see for so long, and it just came out in Australia. So we just got Tar and The Whale. I'm going to go see The Whale in a couple of days. This film was so different to what I thought it was going to be. So Cate Blanchett, she's a maestro conductor. I had no idea what this was about because I just knew that people were going mad over it and said it was a masterpiece. It's a very slow movie, more of a drama, very subtle. About her and the way that society holds her up, or really that that industry held her up, and when things start to crack around her, how things land, I should say. I don't want to ruin anything because it's so subtle and so drawn out that every single moment that makes it epic, you got to wait for, and you've got to really marinate in all of the conversations and stuff to get those payoffs. So I don't think anyone should be given those payoffs without doing that. It doesn't work the same. But there's a lot of long conversations that seem like one take, just back and forth, really setting up the characters, and it does make for a better payoff down the line. But you have to put in a lot of work and emotional work too, because she's, oh my God, I cannot stand her character. She was so hard to watch her as a protagonist and watch her just make all of these, not even mistakes, but just be herself. She was horrendous. So very interesting, very different to what I thought. Great performance by her. But yeah, I just was not expecting it. What I really did like was the cinematography, more so the camera movements. There's a scene, one of the more kind of like kick-off scenes at the start. She was having back and forth with a student in one of her classes, and the camera, the way it like whips around and follows them as they're blocking, going up and down this classroom, because it has like narrow, I guess, like seating arrangement. And I thought it was fantastic, and it makes you feel like you're really there. And I thought it was a really interesting way of putting a conversation about how we hold people responsible for things nowadays into a certain, I want to say snow globe, and shook it up. So there was a lot of questions, and it just was not what I was expecting. So, but I did enjoy it. I'm glad I didn't take my partner. I was going to go take him, but he would have died. It would have been too slow for him. So yeah, TV. I did not watch much TV this month. I think I was so busy with Freddie, and yeah, there's just a lot going on, restarting for the whole year. But I do have like a little bit of a guilty pleasure at the moment that I've been working my way through. If you know. Since October, I've been rewatching Jersey Shore from the very beginning, and I didn't realize how much of the Family Vacation series they have. And there's like 6 seasons or something like that. Something crazy. Anyway, I think I'm part way through the 4th, I want to say. So basically when I've been kind of like working on my computer or like cleaning my house, I've been chucking that on in the background, and it's more of a comfort show, but it does get tedious after a while, like the way that they ham up the drama. So I can only watch it in, I say only 5 episodes in a row, only 5 hours at a time. But it was definitely a comfort show for me. Just so interesting. If you watch Jersey Shore, I know a lot of you out there do like reality TV. If you watch Jersey Shore and you never watched Family Vacation, the drama in this is so much more intense than anything that happened on that show, believe it or not. It's so real and so wild. And then also I have been watching the new season of The American Circle. Have not finished it, so don't say any spoilers. I think I'm up to episode 8, and I've been doing like a little watch along with some of the people on my Discord. So yeah, that's been fun. But yeah, I haven't watched much TV, which is really rare for me. I think there's so much going on. I still need to watch the new Handmaid's Tale. It's just, yeah, there's just been a lot with everything coming out, which is really exciting because there's more. It's just always more, and I'm never going to complain about having the choice to watch so much different content, which is great, which, thank you again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. And thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to... Oh my God, there's so much stuff in store for this year. I'm really excited to bring you a lot more disturbing videos and a lot more rankings and just like fun stuff. We're going to be talking about horrors, and I'm going to give you so much recommendations. You're not going to know what to do with them all. But yeah, thank you again so much for being here. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you all very soon. We have some cool things coming out at the cinema next month. And don't worry, my What's Coming to VOD video will be right around the corner. So I'll see you then. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.